If you're not making life your beach, then what is the point? Welcome in, everybody. Today, we have something incredible for you. We are talking all about some WWE 2k24 news. We got some things going on in the real world of wrestling. We got where you can get NXT for free. There's a big day going on in the squared circle, so I want to sit back and welcome all of you in. Thank you for joining me today. If you're watching this live right now, you have a very important job. That's right. Go ahead and comment what questions you would like me to answer in the chat. We'll get to them later in the show. If you're watching this on replay, comment your questions down below in the comments. Leave me an emoji. Whatever you feel like doing down there, and we will go ahead and get that on next week's stream. So today's stream is brought to you by the Epic Games creator code BeachBytes. That's right. Fortnite has gone OG, and you can help BeachBytes right here by using the Epic and creator code in the creator store. Also, it's brought to you by HEXgaming and WWE, but we will get to that a little bit later. First, let's go ahead and talk about some real ring wrestling news, and we're going to talk about NXT. That's right, it was announced that NXT was going ahead and is going to be moving networks. It will no longer be on the USA Network. Instead, it will be now on the CW this fall. And I'm really excited about it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about it. What that means is that NXT will be free to watch on Antenna TV for the first time ever. So if you've never watched the product, now is a great time to jump in. It will start in November of 2024. So Antenna TV is losing SmackDown, but they are gaining NXT. So we're trading wrestling companies here. So this will be NXT 3.0. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome, actually. I think it will put eyeballs on NXT for a lot of people that haven't watched it. I think it will be a lot better product for people that are coming in. But I think that will be awesome. So next up, we got some WWE 2k24 news, of course, as always. And so we're going to start with some 2k24 news. And 2K had their investor call over this past week, and a lot of interesting things came out about it. One of the interesting things that came out was that no one cared about 2K when it comes to WWE games. 2K as a company has so many games. They have so many mobile games. Of course, they have Grand Theft Auto, and they have the NBA 2K series. But on this investor call, WWE felt like an afterthought. Whereas we are a loud, vocal minority in the wrestling crowd. Because as much as the wrestlings are die-hard fans, and we buy all the products, and we love wrestling, the actual company 2K doesn't see it that way. And that surprised me that this still hasn't changed. They've had it for several years, and with this and the several years going by that they've had it, it's never actually changed. They still feel the exact same way about it as they did 10 years ago. And I thought that it would grow, but it is just an afterthought. But we did learn a couple of things. First off, the release date for WWE 2k23. This will be pretty cool because the release date for 2k23 is physical 2024, which means their physical year ends on March 31st. So we should expect WWE 2k24 in the month of March again. So it looks like we're keeping that release window for March. I think that's kind of neat that at least we're staying on a yearly pattern about it. But it looks like it will be coming out in March again this year. And the internet is in uproar because it says to be announced on systems. So everyone is taking the route that is going next gen only. I don't believe this. This was how 22 was put out. This was how 23 was put out. Now they're doing it with 24. is that they haven't announced the systems, but that doesn't mean that it's going next gen only or current gen now, I guess. It's still weird that the PS5 and Xbox Series X are current gen, but I don't think it's going to. There's too much of an install base on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And keep in mind, back in my day, is when 2K14 was the last one on PS3 and the Xbox 360, so everyone thinks, because then we jumped to PS4 and Xbox One, Xbox One. But 2K kept going until 2K17. So they went for another 3 years on the cycle of them being on old gen. So I think that this will be the last one. I think 24 comes out on PS4 and Xbox One, but I think this will be the last one that comes out on PS4 and Xbox One based on what they've done before. When they made the jump from PS2 to PS3, they did the same thing. 08 was the first one on the PlayStation 3, but they kept it going all the way until 2011 on the PlayStation 2. So there wasn't a whole lot of upgrades. They ended up being two completely different games. If you go back and play 16 and 17 on the PS3, you were getting completely different experiences than what you got on 16 and 17 on the PS4. I could see us moving towards that model first before we move to completely they're just going to cut that system off, because the install base for that game is so big. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about it. The second thing that came out of this investor call that I found so interesting was that they said engagement for WWE 2k23 was up 171% from what it was for WWE 2k22. And that doesn't mean a whole lot. They are spinning bad publicity and making it good publicity, because any publicity is good publicity. The reason why engagement is up is two factors. One is MyFaction, not because people are playing it, but because everyone's tweeting about it and putting on Instagram and putting out all these posts that are saying, oh, this is a horrible game mode, or who plays it? I've been asking that since it came out. Who is playing this game? Well, so they've taken all of that and said, well, it's because people are talking about it, that means that they care. That's not necessarily how that works, but it looks good on the end numbers for 2K. So I found that interesting. The other thing that they did this year was launch a TikTok account. And by them putting out an official TikTok account and everyone going and following, and they did several posts during WrestleMania season and during SummerSlam of, hey, here's our little filter, use it. Well, everyone was jumping online on TikTok and Instagram to make these video reels from what 2K gave us. So I think that is the reason why it spiked so high. Not because everyone's jumping in and playing it more than they played 22 or 23. I think that's absolutely true. But I think that it overall, that it's just the messing with the numbers to make it look absolutely better than what it is. Let me know what you guys think about it. TI Guy 420 High, how are you today, sir? So 2K is their investor call was, we had 4 minutes of WWE 2K23 coverage during that entire almost 2-hour investor call. The rest of it was all about, of course, Grand Theft Auto, and a majority of it was their mobile games and what the NBA is doing. Those are their cash cows. WWE 2K23 is completely not on their radar. So I love that 2K24 is still coming out, but us as players and fans care more about the game than the actual company making it at this point. It's a nice license for them to have in the back pocket, and at least they are doing great things with it. But as far as a cash cow, WWE 2K23 is just not it. Let me know what you guys think about it. Also, So that was pretty much the investor call. Like, you think we'd get so much more out of it. I was hoping we'd get more out of it, but we actually didn't. So that surprised me. So we will get WWE 2k24 in March, and I don't think that it will be next gen only. I think it'll still be on the current systems. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. And they got a TikTok account. That's what we learned from that investor call, is they have a TikTok account, and fans are still mad about MyFaction, and it looks great on 2K's books. So MyFaction will stick around for 2K24. There's no doubt about that at all. But whether it's going to improve it or they're going to go all in or not, we'll have to wait and see. So WWE 2K24 Fact or Fiction is what I went ahead and named this stream, and that's because it's leak season. We're getting leaks earlier. Usually it's after Thanksgiving that we get all the big leaks and stuff, right after Survivor Series. We're starting a few weeks early this year, and 99% of the leakers that are talking are completely wrong. They are just either making stuff up or throwing stuff at the wall and sees that sticks. If I tell you that John Cena is going to win a match every week I hark on it that John Cena is going to win a match. Well, eventually he will win a match, and then guess what? I got it right. And that's what these leakers do. So be very careful where you get your news from. There are a few awesome people on the internet that will give you absolutely the truth, what they know, what they think. And then there's a lot of them that just, make stuff up to get clicks or to get your hopes up that you're getting this or getting that. I don't deal with rumor innuendo. We give you everything based on facts, based on what's happened in previous year's games, what I think's going to happen in future year's games, based on what they've done already, not the big leap that I see a lot of these people take, that there's just no way that some of this stuff could be in there. So be very careful what you are listening to and getting your hopes up about. And it's going to be an awesome game this year. 24 will be, it really can't be worse than 23. If it's using the same engine and they're tweaking it and they're making it better, then it's gonna be a better game than what 23 was by default, unless they just crash something. But after 2K20, I think they've learned that won't fly with the fans. So I look for 2K24 to be absolutely better than what 2K23 was. I also look for it to be a improvement on things, but it's not going to be a leaps and bounds jump from things that we've seen in the past. I will think we get some more matches and new wrestlers, and of course it's a new 2K game. Why wouldn't we? What are something you are looking forward to in WWE 2K23? Comment down below and we can discuss it. But so fact or fiction, that's the thing, is you have to divide and see exactly what's going on with it. So here's a couple facts for you. WWE 2K24 will come out in March-ish. See that's a fact. Here's not a fact. That so and so are going to be in the game because my sources say. Anybody that starts saying anything with my sources say is completely not right. That is, and I have been using that on Twitter for the last week. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's a fun time. I just post random stuff. But I've been using it just because it's funny to me. But people actually believe a lot of the stuff that sources say. Here's a few facts, though, that go along with that. From everything that we've been told and seen, and I know a little bit more because I'm on this side of the screen than you do because you're on that side of the screen. Some stuff I can't say, some stuff I can say, but I'm not going to ever clickbait you with it. Here's some things that I can say that we're 90% sure about with the rumblings that's in the world. is that in between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble every year historically has been when they do all the scans for their games. Everything I've seen so far is that they will be at Survivor Series to start the scanning or finish the scanning. We don't know what part of the process they're in. We do know that they won't have to scan a lot of new wrestlers because there will be a huge carryover from WWE 2k23 to 24. So they're not going to go in and give us brand new scans for every wrestler. They never have. We still have the same Macho Man and the same Ultimate Warrior scan since they came out in 2015? Now granted, those are legends, but they haven't gone back and tweaked those models. The Rock's had his details changed a little bit, but he hasn't actually been rescanned. There is thought though that we will get a new scan of The Rock this year because when Rock showed up in Boulder, they were doing scans at that SmackDown. Since they were doing scans, it's the obvious bet that, hey, well, Rock was there while they were doing scans. They probably scanned him. We don't have 100% confirmation, but you can jump to that conclusion there and go, okay, well, he was there. Pat McAfee was there, but the rest of the main roster was there. So if they were scanning all of those for the new 2K24 scans, getting their gear and stuff, when the game comes out, this should be the time of year right now where this will be the gear that we get in 2K24. In 2K23, they scanned around this time last year too. If you go into your game right now and you play as the Brawling Brutes, you were getting the November version of Ridge Holland and Butch. You weren't getting the March version of Ridge Holland and Butch when the game actually released. It's a few months behind. So I think that it will be the same thing this year. The attires that you're seeing on TV right now, unless there's a drastic change, will go ahead and be the attires that will be in the game when it releases in March. Let me know what you guys think about it. Mike, welcome in. How are you today, sir? We are talking all about WWE 2K24 scanning right now and what we do know and don't know about the scanning process. What we do know is that they scanned in Boulder. So when Rock was there, they scanned. What we don't know is who they scanned. What we also know is they will be at Survival Series and Royal Rumble this year to scan and finish scanning. So my assumption here and my pick is that the main roster is being scanned at Survivor Series. Any wrestlers that will come in, any legends that will come in to be the surprise in the Royal Rumble, what could be DLC if they haven't been in the game before, and that will be where our DLC packs come from. But we're in scanning season right now, so this is, as long as no one gets crazy released, you can look at the roster from what we have right now, and you can see exactly who and what is going to be on this year's roster. And I think it'll be really interesting to see who makes it in and who doesn't make it in. And right now, I think everybody that's on this roster will make it in based on how they've done things the last few years. We got Chase U as DLC last year, so I look for this year that we get at least the other two of Chase U. You know, we got Toxic Attraction. Now that they're gone, we'll still probably have their emotions and stuff, but we'll get the newer versions of Toxic Attraction. So I think it'll be interesting to see which ones change and which ones don't. We'll definitely get an updated theory, I would think, and you know, the new sets for the wrestlers' gears over the last couple pay-per-views. I don't think it's going to be leaps and bounds, though. I don't think we're changing the graphical change. I don't think we're doing any of those things. I think it will be adding on to the foundation of 22 and 23. Will WWE 2K23 or 24 actually, will they ever go to a live service? Well, they're definitely not going to a live service this year. I saw a very interesting video, and I suggest y'all all actually go watch it. It was very entertaining. Greg Miller went on a wonderful rant over at Kinda Funny, saying that the live service should come to WWE games, and here's why. I think he did a fantastic job with it. He made a lot of valid points. But here is what I think about the live service thing. As much as it sounds cool that it would be like a Fortnite style game where you would get one base game and have all of, your wrestlers come in and you could just buy your packs for them, it would never work for WWE because they treat it as a yearly sports title, just like Madden or NBA, your hockey, anything. They want it out every 365 days like clockwork. This is what they have been built on for 20 years. And they know, as much as we gripe about things, is that we'll still fork over our money every time the game comes out and get the new wrestling game. By them doing that, there is no reason for them to actually change it. It's the whole if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think that's exactly what they're going to keep doing with the wrestling games. Do I think that's great? No, I kind of like if you take a year off and give us an extra DLC pack. If you do the game every 2 years, and then at the end of that first year we have our game, and then give us a season 2 DLC pack to give us new wrestlers and attires and stuff, I think that might hold us over if the next year's game was a leaps and bound improvement. But that's not how they do things. It is a 100% yearly release. So they're going to go ahead and keep releasing it year on year, and we're only going to implement little things here and there. They're not going to give us vast improvements, because if they gave us the be-all end-all game, then why would you buy next year's game if you had everything you needed in this year's game? If 24 came out and was the be-all end-all game, gave you everything you wanted in a wrestling game, would you buy 25? But they will release and give you, like they did in 22. 22 is a good system. But 23 has war games. Well, if you want to play war games, if you want the new extra features onto a mode instead of fixing the current mode in the game, General Manager mode is a very good example of this. It was brought back in 22, but it never got any patches that really made it stand out. This year in 23, they patched it once to show what they could go ahead and add to it, but then they didn't touch it again for the rest of the life cycle. Because now in 24, we'll get General Manager mode that has all the fixes from 23, but then they'll add on a couple of new features. And then that'll be it. 25 will keep adding features. They are dribbling out each feature a little bit at a time. So that way, well, it wasn't in this year's game, but it will be in next year's game. And they can go ahead and sell it back to us as this is a brand new experience. Which, that's how video games work when it comes to yearly sports titles, or it's here's your glorified roster update. Wrestling is different than that. So where Madden can get away with the same animations 20 years in a row, and all they have to do is update the roster because it's numbers and stats in a sports game, whereas in wrestling it's actually personalities and wrestlers, so they go ahead and need to update it more than that. So we'll get a few wrestlers here and there, and they'll just keep recycling and making it better. Eventually, we will have a good game is the thought. But in reality, when it comes to a sports game is never fully completed, because if they completed it, you'd never buy another one of them. And that's really the sad part when it comes to yearly games that are being released. Does that mean I'm not going to buy it? No, absolutely I'm going to buy it. It is a 20-year habit for me at this point. I have been buying wrestling games since day one that I can remember. The very first SmackDown game, I remember going and getting and falling in love with. And what made that so special is we actually got them so close together back in the day. And there were also times where you'd have multiple wrestling games a year. Now we're at the point where we only get one wrestling game a year. And it's really weird because for several years you would get exclusives on Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, or you would get yearly releases that also every 3 months you were getting a new wrestling game of some kind. Now 24 is the only game in town. I would love for WWE to move its license over to other game companies and let everyone have a shot at making a wrestling game instead of having just one company make the one game that we play every year. Well, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about it. So overall, I am very excited for WWE 2k24 to come out. I love leak season because we start seeing so many things popping up and going on. And it's going to be really fun to see where this game actually goes. I got a few predictions I want to give to you that I think is going to happen. We'll end up making some videos about it. I did put out a video on universe mode on what changes are coming to it based on what they've done in the past and what foundation they've laid for this year's game. But I also see a lot of people that want new match types, and there's a couple match types that I think I want to address here. And one of them I keep seeing going around is a buried alive match. Now, if Undertaker is the showcase star, I could see us getting a buried alive match. It makes sense because Undertaker was there. But as putting the buried alive match back in the game, if Undertaker's not the showcase star, then I don't see why we would get buried alive or Inferno match. We have not seen those matches on TV in years, and WWE's trying to keep with the current product. I do see him tweaking War Games and making War Games a better product, but I don't see him adding a new match type that we haven't seen in 20 years. Now, one that we have seen on TV as of late, I feel like WWE is letting us know on some things, is that one of the special guest ref matches, in the last couple months, we've had several on TV. So therefore, it's refreshing in people's mind how a special guest referee match works. So if you see it on TV, then you want to go ahead and see it, in your game. So at this point, I will be absolutely shocked if special guest referee does not make it into WWE 2k24. I think that it has to at this point. Is it a system seller? Are you going to go ahead and buy everything for special guest referee? No, but it will give us a new match that is actually an old match that was, a standard in all wrestling games up until the PS4 jump. It's just disappeared and it never came back. I think this year we finally get the special guest referee. Hopefully they can make the shirts work right though. Remember in 22, it took us 8 patches to get the blue shirt ref to work. And this year we have the blue shirt ref, but he does not work in universe mode without a lot of workarounds. I do have a workaround on my channel. If you haven't seen how to get it to work, go ahead and check that out. But they're still working on things. This year they added female refs for the very first time, and they added ref physics. Now, one of the cool things is that the refs do work a little better. One of the bad things is because they are treating them as wrestlers in the ring now, you can auto target them. And if you have manual targeting on, it still gets a little buggy, and the computer will attack that ref randomly because it thinks it's a wrestler. So I think that the reason why that's happening is they are laying in the steps for a new referee system. So I think that's why we've gone through 2 years now of them tweaking with the refs, getting them worked. So year 3, I think we definitely get a special guest referee in WWE 2k24. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What I don't think is that we're going to get any crazy new match types besides that. I think we get a couple of them, but I think it's going to be more tweaking existing match types that we are getting in the game, not absolutely just giving us 20 new match types. I don't think that will work. And I don't know what the hook is going to be for this year's game, and that absolutely excites me right now. Going through and looking, and it's like, okay, last year was War Games. That's what they built the thing around, was, hey, it's updated this, it's updated that, but we have War Games. That was the selling feature in 23. I don't know what the selling feature is going to be for 24 yet, and I'm actually excited about it because we're getting into that point where it's not time for the roster reveals or the trailers or anything like that. But it got me thinking, and it's like, what in the world are they going to add that's going to be the earth-shattering feature that's where all the posters you see at Walmart and GameStop and everything are? What are they going to put in that just makes it absolutely phenomenal? Let me know what you guys think is the new huge feature in 24, or is there not one? Is there just a whole lot of, oh, we got this wrestler in and that's it? So I think it's going to get very interesting as we get closer and closer. And then, so Survivor Series, they're finishing or continuing the scans. I still am one to believe that they go up until the Royal Rumble to make sure they get any last legends in for DLC. So we know we're getting the scanning in, and they've started scanning or finishing up scanning. They are in that process somewhere. So 90% of the stuff is, done or in plans to be done. Of course, with WWE, cards subject to change. Just because they're scanned does not mean that they make it into the game. So it'll be really interesting to see where we go. My outside guess is that if CM Punk returns at Survivor Series, that he gets scanned and he makes the game. And I think that will be the big splash that they use. If it's not a new match type, it will be CM Punk. And I know that sounds crazy, but there is a big part of the fan base that still thinks that CM Punk retired back at the Rumble and has not been back since. There is a huge fan base that does not know that those other 3 letters exist. And as crazy as that sounds to some of you watching this, in my real everyday life, I'm never reminded of those 3 letters at all. There's no commercials. There's nothing for them on TV. If you're not on social media, you don't know that they exist. And I find that really fascinating that this company is 4 years old and there's no promotion for anything. When I still see commercials for Impact Wrestling on Antenna TV, but nothing else for those other 3 letters. But I think that's interesting. So if Punk does make it, then if he's at Survivor Series, then he'll be in the game, is what my outside super guess is. And that's what they'll push the most, is the return. Because last year, the return of Cody Rhodes was what everyone was excited about. Everyone wanted him in 22, and they finally got him in 23. If he returns and then he's not in 24, that's not what's good for business for 2K, as they're still trying to win back the loyalty of all the fans that have been playing these games. They're still mending those bridges, and MyFaction isn't going to cut it with that. And of course, yes, exactly, Randy Orton could be there. And with Randy Orton, there could be any model, because we have so many models in the game now. And in the last couple games, in 22, he had several models that were never released. In 23, there's several models. So they could rescan him so we get the new Randy Orton. But I think that he will make his return. I still feel like it'd be at the Rumble, though. I don't see where he fits in the storyline for Survivor Series. But I think it'd be a great shock if he showed up. I think I'm more like, where I know we're at Survivor Series, but I'm more excited for the Rumble to see exactly what's going to come in and how they're going to book that road to WrestleMania start. Survivor Series to me feels like a pit stop, because we got to get through Survivor Series and then Elimination Chamber before we get to the Rumble. and everything is slowly building. And so I'm really excited to see where that goes. I want create a storyline in the next game. So the old story designer from the past games, do we think that ever comes back? Like, do we ever get to that point where we get the story designer? Because they're still figuring out universe cutscenes from 10 years ago. I want it back. I think that it would be fun to play with again. But I don't know if they have the technology at this point to do it. I think it would have to be rebuilt from the ground up. I don't think they could pull those files from the older games and implement them into this new system that they're using on the current engine that would actually let us get story designer mode. I think that we would have to completely build it from a ground up. So if they're working on it in the background, it took them 2 years to get War Games. It'd give us a couple years, and then we could get story designer. So overall, I think that WWE 2k24 looks very promising. I'm actually very excited for it because the foundation from 22 made 23 so great, and now we're just building on top. This is the third year on this foundation. I think that they finally get some bugs tweaked out because 23 ran so much better than 22 did and still had problems. But I think that they've learned, because I want to say they've learned, but then every patch breaks Hulk Hogan's mustache. So then that blows my mind. I don't know. Maybe they haven't learned, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they are constantly working on it to make it better. And I think that it will absolutely be a much better product than 23. It has to at this point because of all of the stuff that they've learned over the last couple of years. This is their first full year with this system in place, not using the old THQ stuff, but using their stuff. I feel like they got their groundwork under them now, and they know how to manipulate the system. I don't know if we'll get exactly everything we want, but I think the company will get everything they want laid down as we continue down this line of WWE games. And I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be great. I think they do fix the rivalry system. I think they do go ahead and make universe smooth, and I think they actually get managers working. When looking at it, it's like managers worked and then they took them out because they stopped and they haven't put them back in. So I definitely think that the manager system goes back to the way it was in 2K25. We are going to get a multi-season mode in Showcase. You think so? You think they'll go ahead and add multi-seasons? I think that we'll get another linear story. I would like to see multiple seasons, but I think they learned with the Legacy and the Lock this year that we will go ahead and get another linear story because it's easier to make. I think that they've learned that, oh, if we do this, this, and this, that we can throw it together faster. So I feel like we get another Legacy Lock style storyline. What I want is the unlockables to work everywhere. If I unlock it in MyRise, let me use them everywhere. It's interesting to me that you couldn't use so much stuff in universe mode. If you unlocked it in Showcase, you could. But if for whatever reason, if you unlocked it in MyRise, then you couldn't use it. Now that they're putting all the systems together, I think that we'll absolutely be able to use everything that is in the game. I think we should be able to use it anywhere. But I don't know if we're there yet. I really hope we are. But we're going to have to wait and see on that. But as far as roster rumors go, I think that the roster that you see on TV now is pretty much set what we're going to get. I don't think there's going to be any crazy inclusions. Punk at Survivor Series, Orton at the Rumble. I like that. And then I love the Undertaker showcase. The showcase from 2K14 Viper. Did you like that one? Okay, so back to Punk. Punk at Survivor Series, Orton at the Rumble. I kind of like this because do you want Punk, and Randy Orton to show up on the same show? Like, don't you want to build it out a little bit? Or what if we still have Elimination Chamber in between there? So, and that's going to be in Australia. That's going to be a good show. So, because they're going over there, they're going to want something there. Could Orton show up at Elimination Chamber? Because I think if you don't do Punk at Survivor Series, you're missing a window. So, if Punk doesn't show up at Survivor Series, to me, then he's not showing up. Because I don't think that's something they would hold back. They want that Chicago pop, because that Chicago pop is like no other. So they want that. So I think that that's where Punk ends up going, is if he shows up at Survivor Series, they got to give him that Chicago pop. As for Orton, he's so over everywhere, is that you could use him anywhere, basically. So I could see him being teased, but then showing up at Elimination Chamber, kind of like Logan Paul did last year when he attacked Seth. Was you didn't see it coming, you had the chamber match, and then Logan Paul came in and started their feud. I could see Orton coming in and interrupting the chamber. But of course, the biggest pop of all that Orton would get is being, number 30 or 27 in the Royal Rumble, because no one would see that coming too. So I think there's several ways you can go with Orton. I don't think you have that many ways to go with Punk. I think that if you don't do Chicago, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And under Triple H, I don't think he's going to do it that way. Now, for the Undertaker Showcase, I was totally... we got Undertaker 10 years ago before he had his own spot. But Undertaker's never had a showcase. And I think that Undertaker Showcase would be actually awesome. Because I love The Undertaker. How can you not love The Undertaker? It's been 20 years of what I remember is the decade of destruction, the 2 decades of destruction. Now we're on 3 decades of destruction. It's insane. Undertaker for Showcase makes sense. Also, a little inside to 2K is that Brian Williams, who's back at 2K, he wrote the love letter to The Undertaker in 2K14. So now that Brian Williams is back in the fold at WWE or at 2K, it would make sense if he got his 2 cents in there and we actually got a new upscaled version of The Undertaker Showcase. Brian Williams was completely in charge of that during 2K14. He already knew what he was doing, and that the systems have changed, but he knew what story he wanted to tell with The Undertaker. So I could totally see him using that knowledge 10 years later to give us an Undertaker Showcase. That would be cool. The Showcase mode didn't exist back then. We were just coming off Road to WrestleMania, and he hasn't had one. But I would love to see The Undertaker Showcase. I think that there's a variety of matches that you could pull from it, and that wrestlers that we have, and just like they did with Cena, you could skip a few things and it still makes sense. I think that you could give us enough stuff. It would be weird for me to for them to skip the entire Edge storyline. So that's just me though, because I enjoyed that Edge storyline. I feel like it should be in his showcase. But other than that, you can hop around because he has 30 years. We could just do a whole showcase on 90s Undertaker, and you could do the old wrestlers, or you could do each era that he had. There's enough to work with Undertaker, with the people still on the roster, that they could make the showcase work. I think still we've never got a Triple H showcase. There's so many wrestlers that we haven't got a showcase for. Think about this, of how many, we got Rey Mysterio, we got John Cena. SmackDown was named back in the day when it was just SmackDown Know Your Role, SmackDown Just Bring It. It was named after The Rock, and we've never got anything for The Rock for this game yet. And I find that interesting, is that, they took the namesake for this series that has gone on from The Rock, and he's never had a showcase mode or never been featured as heavy in these games. You have to go back to, I went blank, was it 12? I think it was 12 where he was the pre-order bonus. Like, that was the only way Rock was even in the game. He was gone for so long. I'll double check. So let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, if it's 12, because I went completely blank. But I think it was, because 13 was Mike Tyson. Wasn't 12 The Rock, where we had to get, you had to pre-order it to get him in the game? And then that's been it for him. And it's like there's still stuff in the files for they've added stuff with Rock, but we've never got a proper Rock send-off. They did Austin, and we got a couple of the Rock Austin matches. But there's so many things you could do with the Rock that it would make so much sense for them to do a Rock showcase. And what the last cover that he was on was 14 as well. So you're looking at 10 years. Those are two great picks there. You could do Undertaker, who hasn't been featured in 10 years, and you can do The Rock, who hasn't been featured in 10 years. And I think that would be cool. But then also, it is Triple H in charge now. We could get Triple H, and that would be cool. But I think that we could go through and get a lot of cool things. And Triple H's career is so long that you could do stuff with his Warrior stuff. You could skip, I know it sounds crazy, but you could skip Evolution completely in the showcase, and you could still get a great showcase out of it. That's how deep Triple H's career goes. Like, and you could do the Shawn DX stuff with him and Shawn. You could skip the DX Army section, and you would still get a good showcase because he's done so much stuff. It sounds weird saying, actually, like, that you could skip DX and Evolution and still it wouldn't matter. You would have a good Triple H showcase. But I think it could be pulled off with what they have. Now, if I agree with you, Mike, if they give us multiple showcases, that makes sense. You do a couple wrestlers. You have this guy's path and this guy's path. But will they really do it? Because this is my counter to this. Not that I agree with you, actually. That's like, I think that's what I want. Give us the Road to WrestleMania style where we had, here's Rey and Batista's story. Here's Edge's story. Here's Christian's story. I think that's better for the fans. Absolutely agree with you. But for the company, it doesn't really help 2K at all, because if they do that once, then it's going to be like, if they do 24 and it's like, here is Undertaker and what were we saying, Triple H's showcase or Randy Orton, we do these two guys, so they do that. But then next year, if they only go back and they go back to one, like we're doing Brock Lesnar showcase, that's going to backfire on them. They'll have to keep adding on to it to stay up with what the bar they've set. And right now their bar is we showcase one superstar a year. So if they keep doing it that way, then we get Undertaker this year, next year we get Triple H, then we get Orton. They have a 3-4 year plan. Because while we're doing scans and stuff for the roster, they're finishing up 24, and by the time we actually get 24 in our hands, they're already working on 25. They will get everything finished in January as far as what's nailed down, unless there's something crazy that happens. This game's nailed down in January, we get it in March. Well, come February, when they come back from break, then they are working on 25. So I think the one superstar system is what will keep going on. I want to see multiple. I want as much in the game as possible. But I think that it actually hurts 2K to do that once. Remember, in 2K17, they took Showcase out and everyone lost their mind. And then we had to get, it's like, we're not doing Showcase anymore. So 2K likes to tweet and tout about, is tout still a thing? I think tout's gone. But you know what I mean. It's like all their marketing comes out and they're like, okay, we've done Showcase for this many years. We've done Universe for this many years. Well, actually, no, it's not. We had Austin Showcase, and then we went 2 years. We went 17 and 18 without a showcase. Then it came back in 19 with Daniel Bryan. And then 22 with Rey Mysterio. And like there wasn't, and now we got John Cena, so we're what, 4 or 5 showcases in, and they act like showcase has been a thing since 2K took over, and it really hasn't been. 2K didn't take over until 2015 because 14 had the 2K name on it, but that was still THQ. That was the last one to come out. So 2K published it for that year, the second half of that year, and they changed the name of it. But they didn't actually get a hold of it till 15, and that, remember, 15 was the disaster year. We did get what it was Punk and Triple H. They gave us the double showcase, or was it called showcase then? They gave us the double where you went through as DX, and then you went through as CM Punk. Well, they went ahead and did that, and then remember 15 was horrible. It was bare bones because it was their first time at it. They redeemed themselves with 16 and gave us a wonderful Austin showcase, but then by 17 they didn't know what they were doing and had to rip it out. It was still Ukes that was doing it at this time. 2K didn't actually get it to where now it's completely in-house until 20, and look what 20 came. I mean, 20 was horrible, and then we got spoiled where we didn't get 21, and it's still weird to me that we went a whole year without a wrestling game. And I think that's where everyone's nostalgia pop comes in for 19, is because we played it for 3 years. And that game's looked back on now and beloved as 19's one of the best games ever. When if it was just a yearly title like we are back to now with 22, 23, 24, you would look back on 19 and be like, yeah, it was okay. It had some problems. But see, 2K sets themselves up where is if they would release a game every other year, that there would actually be more love for the game and people would be more excited to get it because they played the same game for 2 years. Instead of, we're literally on a 363-day turnaround on this game. 22, and then now 23, and now with it coming out in March again, we're again getting it right before exactly 1 year to the day that we buy this game, and then we go through and we play the next year's game. So what are some features that you want in WWE 2K24? What are something that you guys are looking forward to the most? Like I said, I think mine is what I'm looking forward to the most. I've said it on several videos now, is I just want the game to work. That is my main thing. If it is an option in the game, let it work in real life. That's what I want from it. If it doesn't work, then we're going to have the same problems that we've had the last few years. Let's see. Did I miss any questions here? Let's see. Lonnie Jones. Hi, how are you today, sir? Let's see. The King of Kings pack or the Games pack. Okay. But could you imagine if they resell us, though, Triple H's? Like, all the Triple H's? Like, if it wasn't for What's the Status making 45 Triple H's and Undertakers this year, like, we only had, like, 2 models in the game. Let's see. You want promos back. I do think the promo feature should return, but make it better. Like, make the promos matter. Like, they were horribly written, but at least they worked a little bit. I would like to, you know, we all have microphones now on our system. Let us just be able to say what we want to say instead of type it out or pick A, B, or C. I think we can make it more interactive, and it would be a lot more fun. What is a barnyard match? That, like, I think I'm thinking of the wrong deal. A boneyard match or a barnyard? Because a boneyard match, I understand. A barnyard match, can we render all the, like, chickens and cows and everything we need for that? Could you imagine, like, picking up a goat and throwing it? Like, a barnyard match. Now I'm kind of into it. Now a barnyard match sounds pretty cool to me. Do you think we are getting the new legend tag team besides the Dudleys? I want the Freebirds back. That's who I want back in. We got that 1 year where we had the Freebirds and we had the Von Erichs. I want that back. I want several tag teams. What I do think, here's my outside crazy idea for DLC. I hope it's not. This is something that I think is going to happen that I don't want to happen. But we're in scanning time. And of course, we got Lexus King coming in for the first time. I think since we got Stone Cold Steve Austin's Stunning Steve as a MyFaction card this year, and now we have Lexus King under contract, I think that we end up getting the Hollywood Blondes. But what I think they're going to do is, instead of giving it to us on disc, which they could do since the models are already there, I think they're going to go ahead and give us like a loose cannon pack next year. And you give us Brian Pillman, Lexus King, Stunning Steve Austin, and then insert 2 more crazy guys. We need 4 or 5 to get that pack, but I think we get a loose cannon DLC pack. That is my way outside prediction. Telling you right here, talking right here in front of the camera. That is my complete guess. So it'll be fun to go back and see if I got it right. And I don't want it to be right. I don't want to pay for Brian Pillman. Just put him in the game on the main roster. But I think that's just my complete guess, is that we get a loose cannon pack for DLC. And it will be Lexus King, Stunning Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, and I need, 2 more crazy characters. Who we got in the chat? Who do you think would go good with that? Oh, Psycho Sid. Yes. So we go ahead and add Psycho Sid to that pack. Well, wait, didn't we already pay for Psycho Sid once? We did in like 18. Psycho Sid was like, they just keep nickeling and diming us. Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, Buff Bagwell, and Lex Luger. Now, yeah, the Rock and Roll Express, they were in for a couple years. I'd like them back. If we could get Jim Cornette in the game, I would lose my mind. Like, I think that would be so cool. Like, when I played General Manager mode, I went and had to download a render of Jim Cornette because I think it's just funny to go against him because of how the computer just talks trash to you as the other general managers. Makes total sense to me to have Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette talk trash to you as you're playing through General Manager mode. So I would really like to see that. Dusty Rhodes, Kevin Sullivan. Now, I agree with you on Dusty Rhodes. I don't think Kevin Sullivan will. Dusty makes sense because Cody's back. I thought we'd actually get him in 23. Kevin Sullivan's so weird and has his hand in so many other wrestling promotions. I don't know where his contracts lie. Demolition. Are we still mad at Demolition? I don't think WWE is still mad at Demolition. We had him in 1 year's game, and then that was it. Yeah, if we get LOD, see, I'd like the old early 90s tag teams, or legitimate tag teams at least. Like, give us LOD. My outside pick that I want, just because I want the entrance and the names and stuff, is I want the Moondogs. Give us the Moondogs in a game. Give us a retro 80s pack and give us Moondogs. I think that would be fun. Or if you're gonna we do Macho Man and Hulk Hogan every year, give us the Mega Powers version. That would be fun. Give us a different model on the Legends. I've heard a lot of people say, it's like, we've had the same Randy Orton, same Ultimate Warrior for years. Give us a different version of them. Don't give me Macho King, give me Macho Madness. Don't give me the 1996 Jake the Snake, or the 1993 Jake the Snake, not the same 1991 Jake the Snake that we always have. Or, it's like we get Ted DiBiase, but give us the Ringmaster for, without us having to use a creation spot on it. Or IRS, give us something like that instead of the same. It's like, okay, we just copied these guys over. And it also, like Ivory and Jacqueline back in the game. I actually find that I enjoyed them and didn't realize as I was playing through games how much I used Ivory and Jacqueline. until they took them out. And it's like, oh, wow, I actually use them. So do we need to go all the way back? Oh, the Killer Bees. I forgot. Yes, we need the Killer Bees to go against the Moondogs in a triple threat match. TLC and the Dudley Boys take them out. We could do an Errors tag team. Like, do something with them. Good. How are you? Let's see. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He just disappeared, didn't he? Like, we were on a good streak of getting 1 to 2 models of Ricky the Dragon, and then they're just like, nope, you don't get him anymore. Yeah, we never have had no, we haven't had IRS. He's never been in the 2K series version of this. So that would be really cool if they went ahead and, you know, I just want new legends, like new old legends. Does that even make sense? Like, yeah, I want all these old guys, but I want new old guys to come into the game. And I like IRS. We haven't had him. We got Junkyard Dog once. Coco Beware. There's so many that you could choose from that we haven't seen that I think would refresh the Legends roster. And it's like and one thing that disappointed me about 23 was that you gave us general manager mode and you gave us WCW in this year, and you gave us the Nitro and the Havoc. Have you guys tried to make a WCW universe mode without using community creations? There's not enough guys on the roster to even give you a core thing. Like, you use Booker, Goldberg, and the NWO, and that's about it. And in past games, at least we had Arn Anderson and Ric Flair and Sting. There were so many that you could at least build a nice universe mode. It can't be done. And that's my fear with ECW now. Is like, there's not enough ECW guys. We got RVD, and it's like, if they add ECW into general manager mode, it's like, well, we got RVD and the Dudley Boys, and it's like, but we don't get Dreamer or Taz or any of them because they're all at other companies. I never finished my career in 2K15 through 18. Do you think it's worth it now to finish it? Huh. Let's see. Well, okay, for 2K17, I did enjoy the storyline with that because you got to pick whether you were with Paul Heyman or not. I did like that one. 18 sets you up for 19 storyline. So it's like, I enjoyed the callbacks in 19 that I didn't understand until I went back and played 18. And then 15, I'm with you. I didn't play the career mode in 15 because I had the PlayStation 3 version of 15. I didn't get the PlayStation 4 version. So I didn't have career mode. I didn't get a PlayStation 4 until 17 came out. So 15 and 16 I played on PS3, and they didn't have the career modes in those games. So my first career mode experience was 17. So that might be why I enjoyed it, because it was my first one to go through. I thought the Heyman thing was cool. 18 I never really finished. I skipped 18, played 19s, and then went backwards to play 18s to see all the little Easter eggs that they keep adding in. Like the fact that that's one thing I do love, is that we still got all the BCW stuff. It was less in this year's game, but I think it's cool they do little callbacks to Ribby and what actually happened and what goes on with the BCW stuff. I enjoyed that part of the career mode. As far as grinding, there's nothing special you're going to unlock that you don't already have. Let's see. Yes, 15 on the... Let's see, 15, 16, 17 were all better on the PS3 to me than what they were on the PS4. Because in 15 or in 16 and 17 they brought custom music back, and you still had Story Designer, and you still had all of the fun stuff that everyone loves 14 for. It was there in 16 just with that roster. Just not a lot of people talk about it because they all jumped to the PlayStation 4 version and never looked back. Also, it was the same way if you go back and play the like SmackDown versus Raw 2006 and 7 on the PS2 or what is it? No, SmackDown 9 and 10 on the PS2 compared to the PS3, it's a completely different experience. So it's like they share the name and that was about it. And I think that's where we're going to go with this. I don't think they just hard cut off 2K isn't going to hard cut off the PS4 and Xbox One from 2K24 and 25. I think it'll be a gradual cutover because that's what they've done in the past. When you look at basketball, NBA 2K23 on the next gen systems, from what I've seen, I still play on PS4. So from what I've seen, 2K22 and 23 looked awesome with the error modes and stuff for basketball. However, in 2K20 for basketball, NBA 2K20 from then to 2K24, it's the exact same game on the PlayStation 4. So disappointed with it. It's like they give it to you free every year on PlayStation Plus. So it's like, oh, new basketball game that's a year old. I can't tell the difference. Like the roster updates there, so it's like, oh, new rosters, but you get less jerseys, less play mode, and less stuff to do. So you're getting a roster update. So that's how they've been doing basketball since 2K20. They haven't updated it since then. So 2K20, 21, 22, 23, and now 24, exact same game. So I could see them doing that with wrestling as well when they do make the jump, is that they'll split it and we'll go a couple years on PS3 or PS4 where we get just, oh, you got the new roster. 17 for wrestling was awesome because on the PS3 they gave you all the renders and all the new stuff for the PlayStation 4 version, but then you were still playing like 2K16 again with a new roster. So it was really funny when you go through and look at 17. On the PS3 you're playing it, but it looks like you're playing the PS4 until you actually load into a match. And that always jacked with me a little bit once I got the PS4 version of 2K17. I agree. 19 is the best story to me too. I like that one. I love La Resistance. I do. Rene Dupree and Savon Grenier and Rob Conway. Yeah, they were absolutely amazing. I try to find someone that's made them every year. I love now that we have renders in the game. I think that's one of the best features that 2K's added, is where we can do custom renders. And if you actually take your time and if you want to create, you can make some awesome renders. Or there's a ton of people, if you're not a creative person in the game, you can download their renders. And that's the best for me, because like La Resistance might look 100% in the game, but since I have those renders, I can use them in my general manager mode and or universe if you're simulating matches, and it still looks authentic. And I think that's really cool. Here's a fun La Resistance story, because I'm going to go on a soapbox for a minute. So the thing that drove me nuts is I was actually a big La Resistance fan, and I was so excited when they were coming to the game. But we have never in a game got them correctly, because when they put them in, it was in 2006, or what was it, SmackDown vs. Raw 06. We got them in a year after they already broke up. So they broke up in 2005. So they put Savon Grenier and Rene Dupree in, but it was as their singles gimmicks, but then still gave you all the tag motions and stuff, but not the updated Trons. And then the next year, you never got Rob Conway, but then you got a reverse Rene Dupree and the model Savon Grenier, but not their gear. And this was before you could go change and just put whatever gear was on them. So you were stuck with that. And then when it switched to SmackDown versus Raw, or that was the first part of it, you just got Rene Dupree in a singles gimmick, but he was already tagging with La Resistance. So we never got them in their timeline. They did kind of the same thing with Eminem back in the day, was that we finally got him in the game, but because systems didn't update, is we got Eminem and Melina and their awesome tag entrance, the way they'd have the tag belts and stuff. They got in the game right after they broke up. Yeah, far-fetched, I agree. Owen being in the game, I never thought I'd see. He did go into the other game, so it's cool that he's there. I don't think we ever get him in a WWE licensed game. I mean, they still to this day won't use footage of him. He's talked about but not shown, and I understand why. But from a fan, it stinks when you're doing this and you want to play. And from a person, though, I completely understand why it's done that way. So it's a weird situation. We ever played through on the PS? I haven't played 15 or 16 on the PS4. I have 17 on the PS3 and the PS4. That's when I switched over. We got the whole double deal. You get the PS3 version, you get the PS4 version. But I never played 15 or 16 on the PS4. And when I go to download them now, I have them on PS3, but never got the PS4 version. And haven't found a disc copy yet of those older games. I think it'd be fun to go back and play them on the PS4. But no, I've only played the PS3 versions of those. That was also like one series I always wanted to play and didn't. Was I had to look up videos to see how it went. And there's a lot of great videos on them. But I never had a Nintendo GameCube. So one thing that I always wanted to play was the Day of Reckoning series. And I was a PlayStation kid. And so I had just PlayStation stuff. So I'd get the SmackDown series, and that's what started my love for it. Was okay, every year we get this. But I never actually got to go through and play the Day of Reckoning series. And now I don't think it would translate. So I don't think you get the same feel out of it because the controls are so wonky. But it's always something that I've like, one of these days I'm going to get me a GameCube. And I'm never going to get a GameCube, but that's one of my thoughts is I never got to go through and play the Day of Reckoning series. Or I finally got to play, what was it, the Xbox? I played Raw on Xbox. I finally got to play that, but I never actually stepped in and played the Day of Reckoning series. And that one always looked so fascinating to me as a kid growing up because it was such a different storyline and a different way of doing it. So those are two games. They did 1 and 2 and then moved on from it. I always wanted to play those and never have got to. So I'm like, maybe one day I'll find an emulator or something and play them. But for right now, it's not on my huge list of things to do. Does Day of Reckoning 2 still hold up? That's cool. Yeah, I've watched a couple videos of people playing it. It's like, it doesn't look that terrible. I was going to do a video for because next week is the release of 2010, like the 10-year or 14-year anniversary, and this week was the anniversary of 2009. Yeah, it was 2009. Came out on the 7th, like 14 years ago, and I thought that was really cool that we're on that. And I was going to do a playthrough of that today, and then there was so much other wrestling news that it was like, okay, we'll hold off on that. But I did I went through it and actually played it for a little bit, and I was surprised that other than the ring being bigger than we're used to, the controls and everything still holds up on that game. Like, the graphics still look good. And there was stuff in it that surprised me, like that I forgot from, it's been 14 years since I've touched it. But where we have to go through and get DLC now, and it's like, or we have to go through and unlock stuff if you get the accelerator in these newer games, and it unlocks half the stuff, not all the stuff. Or you have to go through My Rise. And one of the big things with this year's game is you had to go through Showcase to unlock if you wanted this version of Triple H or this version of Undertaker. You had to beat John Cena Showcase. Okay, well, what I didn't remember was that in 2009, it worked the same way. If you wanted this alternate attire of CM Punk or Chris Jericho, you had to go through and you had to play the My Rise. And two things I took out of that just made me laugh is how far we've come in wrestling games. Is the fact that in the 2009, it's called Attire A and Attire B, where now we have to be specific of this is his Armageddon attire from 2003. No, they just did Attire A and Attire B. And the second thing that I just thought was crazy that I wish they would bring back is that you have to go through the Road to WrestleMania mode to unlock all of these wrestlers unless you have cheat codes. And there was actually a cheat code system where you could go in, and I went through and looked up on the old GameFAQs page and looked up all the old codes to see which worked. And you go through and you put in your cheat codes and it would unlock all that stuff for you. So you didn't have to play it, and you didn't have to pay to unlock it. So that's something that I wish that they would add back to games that I just forget because we're so used to, okay, here's my credit card, give me my stuff. Now, era of games. It was actually a lot nicer back on the old PS2, PS3, where you could just be like, okay, here's what cheat code did the developers put in for me to find to unlock this stuff, or I have to grind through the game. Nowadays, they don't do that, and that's something I really hope that they would bring back to a wrestling game. I think that'd be fun. Let's see, what questions did I miss? What was my favorite game on the PlayStation 3? 14. Mine is 13. And it's just the roster. The roster of 13 is my favorite game. And the reason why is because that game had Gangrel, and it had Val Venus, and it had Too Cool all at the same time. Like, you got all three members of Too Cool. You got Gangrel. You got Val Venus. We had all of DX. We had the Acolytes. There was so much that you could do. They even gave us the old versions of Edge and Christian. So I really enjoyed 13 for that roster they gave us. 14, however, I enjoyed once they gave us the crazy DLC that year. They gave us the NWO and so much stuff in it. I can see in the love letter to the Undertaker that we talked about earlier is I could see I get why that game still holds up. But for me, I like the roster of 13 and the way that game worked. And so that one is probably my favorite. And I spent more time with that one. In 14, I got lost in universe mode and spent way too much time in that universe mode though. Dino Bravo, now you just messing with me. Like, how many people know who Dino Bravo is if you hadn't watched Dark Side of the Ring? Like, did anyone actually go through and, go, I want to go and watch a Dino Bravo match? I think he's a wrestler that you found by accident when you were looking up someone else's matches. You're watching Gorgeous George or something. You're like, oh, wait, who's he fighting? Oh, Dino Bravo. Okay, and then you go and look him up. That's what I think. I don't know if he would actually make it into a game or not, though. But Steve Blackman and Al Snow, Head Cheese. We got to get Head Cheese back in the game at some point. Like, Steve Blackman was the man. We haven't had him in a game since SmackDown vs. Raw 2 or something like that. Like, we need Steve Blackman and Al Snow back. I agree with you. Let's see what else we got. Answered that one. Crime Time. Here is something that's a crime about Crime Time that just drives me crazy as a fan. I thought Crime Time was great. Crime Time never won the tag team titles. So, are they the most famous tag team that people remember and they left an impact on? that never won the tag belts. Like, there's several pictures around of them with the belts, and I see people post them and stuff, and it makes me laugh because that's just all the times they stole them from the tag team champions. They never actually won them. And then they went with Cena and the Chain Gang Crime Time for like a week or whatever that was. But I thought they were great. But it just makes me laugh that they've never won tag belts anywhere. And yet people still look back on them as, oh, they were these great champions. They were never champions. They stole those belts. They never won them. And I think people forget that. Let's see. SmackDown. What's my favorite SmackDown versus Raw game? Okay, so 8. No, see, here's the thing. When SmackDown 6, 7, and 8 came out, 8 to me was the bare bones one as they were moving over. 9 had way more stuff to do. So if you're going features wise, I think that 9 and 10 were awesome. If you're going what I played the most of, though, it was 07, I think, because that was where I didn't like the roster, but general manager mode had so much stuff to do. That's where I spent my time. But if you're looking for what had more features, it would be 9 or 10. And then, yeah, 11 was good too. 11 was the crazy physics of the chair match and the ladder matches. So I spent more match time in 11. So I agree with that. But as far as play and the first universe mode, I thought was great. But so I spent more match time playing 11. I spent more time overall, though, in 07 because of all the stuff. I was trying to break general manager mode. And I didn't realize that wasn't a thing back then. Because it's like, but I was trying to figure out how to break general manager mode in 2007. So that's what I spent the most time with. Let's see. Yeah, Steve Blackman did say he was going to be in 19, didn't he? That's way back there. I think he just trolls people. Or he was scanned and then they didn't use him. I don't know how to go with that. Oh, you're right. They never did get the match. They won it and never did get the title match. What do I think of 2K16? Well, so 2K16, I enjoyed it. I thought it was, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin. You had me at Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it was like, oh, we're doing a Stone Cold showcase. Let's go through. Let's play it. I enjoyed it. What I enjoyed, though, was the roster. We got Nation of Domination. So actually getting D'Lo Brown back in a game, I thought that was really cool. And the one Billy Gunn. So like that to me was always my favorite version of Billy Gunn, the least used. But when he was with Big Show and they were Double Trouble, I thought that was a great tag team that was underutilized and was so funny. It might have just been the time of my life, I don't know. But I thought that the one Billy Gunn was the one. Like I was like, okay, that's the coolest version. So the fact that we actually got him and that entrance music, I still love that entrance music. I probably still have that entrance music on a playlist somewhere. That and Matt Hardy's Slam a Tornado. Those two songs, for whatever reason, just crack me up to this day. And yeah, they're on a playlist somewhere. So I loved 2K16's roster for the fact of one Billy Gunn. And he won everything in my universe. And that we got D'Lo Brown. And there were so many others in that. And, of course, it was Austin Showcase. And that was the year we got the 1996 Jake the Snake Roberts. And I love that gear. And it's like he's been ported over a couple times. But that was the first, like, oh, we're finally getting a new Jake the Snake version. Because a couple years before that, it was just the same one over and over. So I really enjoyed 2K16 just for that. Now, I actually don't remember was it like the special gameplay or anything, but I played a lot out of it because of the roster of getting stunning Steve Austin and superstar Steve Austin. I love that roster a lot. And of course, one Billy Gunn, which I liked way too much for whatever reason. But I thought that was the one that could win the world title. Let's see. Favorite showcase. Yeah, I think. Now, I do agree. Like, Austin Showcase was the most fun for the story aspect of it. But I don't think it was the most well worked. And what I mean by that is we got in 13, we actually got Mike Tyson. In 16, we couldn't get Mike Tyson. So I didn't like that. And then we didn't get JR in 16. We got him in 13. So there was some stuff missing in that showcase that I wish would have been done better. I enjoyed it though because of the nostalgia pop of Austin. As far as well worked, I enjoyed 19's Daniel Bryan showcase because it let Daniel Bryan just be Daniel Bryan, and he just sit and told stories in front of the camera as you were going through your matches. So I enjoyed that one overall more than all of them. I did not like Rey Mysterio showcase at all because it felt so fake to me that you're getting him in character, talking out of character, but talking in character. It was confusing. So, and the matches just didn't work for me because of how they threw it together. I love that he fought, what was it, Grand Metalik. That was a great match. I don't think that needed to be showcased. You know, I love that. And it's like, I didn't even, the Samoa Joe match did not make an impact on me when I watched it live. I was like, okay, cool, he's fighting Samoa Joe. I don't know why that got a showcase match. So I did not like the way that was put together. And then for John Cena, I feel like they did what they could with what they had. So I thought it was a nice little, I enjoyed his backstage stuff. As far as the matches they picked, I would have picked different ones. But I understand what they were doing with it. So it all kind of worked out. But yeah, I liked, 19 I had the most fun with. 16 gave me the nostalgia pop. And the other two, I played them to unlock stuff. And that was the only reason I went through Raze was we had to unlock stuff. And so was 23. There was stuff we have to unlock. So it's like, and 23 felt a lot shorter to me. It felt like it's getting easier, which makes me wonder how 24 is going to handle showcase. Are we going to do just like 10 matches and be done with it? Or are we going to keep going and, see what we get from there? I'd like to see, make it last longer than I think you can beat it in what, 2.5 hours, maybe? It's like, okay, give us a little bit more than that. Let's see. D'Lo, yeah, I love D'Lo Brown. The chest protector, I like to post chest that. See if I can say this right. I liked post chest protector D'Lo Brown. There we go. I got it right. All right. Yeah. Once he took, it was so funny when people would use it in the match, but I feel like his character fleshed out once he got rid of it. It was funny for a while, but then when he got rid of it, he was the real deal. D'Lo Brown, I love D'Lo back in the day. Yeah, European champions. Oh, he was so good. What's your favorite Road to WrestleMania? So Road to WrestleMania is interesting for me because they kind of bundle up under my hat. I don't remember which one is in which game because there were so many that it doesn't stand out. And that was a time in my life where I was playing, but not as hardcore as I get to play now. Thanks to all of you. If I hadn't said that, thank you so much for everyone that's joined me here. It's not lost on me at all that we're just hanging out talking about wrestling, and I couldn't thank you enough for, this being a thing. But 2011, 2012, that was a weird time. So I didn't get to play through them as much as I did now and get to hardcore dive into them. What I do remember from them is I loved the Edge and Christian that storyline. So whichever one that was in, that was the one that stood out to me. So the fact that they brought back the 5-second pose and all that, And you got to remember at the time that one happened, they weren't together on TV. So it was kind of setting up that it was like by the time I was done with that, it was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Edge and Christian got on TV together again? And they eventually did, kind of. But that was the one of all those showcases that stood out to me. The imposter Kane in the game. I don't know what that means. You want him in the game or you watched him in the game? Let's see. All right. So we've covered a lot today. You want Imposter Kane. Like, okay, do you want Luke Gallows Imposter Kane, or do you want, like, do we need, like, Isaac Yankem back in the game? DDS? We've never got that one either. So my thoughts are on the showcase superstar that I do like the Undertaker stuff that's going around. I've seen Assemble's video, absolutely great. I get all of his points. I think that Undertaker totally makes sense. I've tried to add a couple points to that with Brian Williams writing it before. He's back, he writes it now. Undertaker on paper makes sense to me. I'm going to give my official pick. I'm working on a video that'll be out next week that will be what my official pick is, and it's not The Undertaker. Just because, I mean, we're not copying people here. I actually didn't think about The Undertaker until I watched that video, and then I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that makes a lot of valid points. But I got another one, so make sure you look out for that one next week. It will be, it was fun to make, so I hope that y'all enjoy it, and see if I can give my outsides on why I think this superstar will be in the showcase. But so we got that covered. We got the more WWE 2k24 news is going to come out. What, today's the 9th, 10th, so we still got 15 days till Survivor Series before they go ahead and we find out if they finish scans or starting scans. We'll find out a little bit more next week as we go through, and news is going to start ramping up. I'm really excited to see what crazy things are coming. Any other questions for me in the chat? My beach beverage is almost gone, and you know what that means. So let's see. Anything else going on? I'd like to thank all of y'all for joining me today. It really means a lot to me, and we can just sit and hang out for a little bit, talk some wrestling, talk some video games. We're going to have more videos coming out over the weekend. I got a few surprises for you guys that will come out. I'm going to try a couple different things. Hopefully it'll work. I did try a couple videos that haven't worked. So I did try a whole retrospective on Logan Paul. And I tried that. And no one watched it. So if y'all could, while you're in here, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch the Logan Paul video. If you don't like him, if you do like him, it really helped me out a lot. And I worked hard on that video. So I'm trying to figure out where I can get more content from other than the game that we can still stay in the line of wrestling. So let me know, you guys in here that are in here with me right now, what's a couple videos that you'd like to see that I haven't made yet or you think would be a fun watch? Because I'm still trying to figure out exactly where we want to do some filler content in between all the 2K24 news and unlocks as we get to it. You don't like Logan Paul at all? Okay, well, I can take him or leave him, actually. But, so, Logan Paul was a bad topic. What's a good topic for a wrestler retrospective that you would like to see? Do you think we ever actually get Slow Chemical back in? Now that WWE's changed their license on the way they do music and it's through the music group, do you think we ever get bands that aren't grandfathered in? And do you think we ever get those back? Because now it's just all their music. They even changed Asuka's music. I'm surprised they have we have Randy Orton left. Dolph Ziggler's gone now, so he doesn't have his music. So pretty much Randy Orton and a couple other guys actually have outside bands music. Everyone else is all in group for WWE. So it'll be interesting how they are going to continue to do this. They're so weird on music licensing, on how they pick, who they pick, why they pick. A stable video. I like that. We could do what is the best stables, or do you remember this stable? Do some like crazy, like, you remember that time there were like 17 Four Horsemen, and like, but there was no Four Horsemen? That was a fun time. You want the Evolution music and the DX theme song? I agree. Now I do have a Shawn Michaels on Community Creations. If you search BeachBytes, he comes with the DX Trons and the DX music. I also fixed X-Pac on Community Creations if you search, and you can get the DX version of X-Pac, and he comes out with his X-Pac entrance, but he does have the DX Trons and the DX Minitrons. So that one works. So if you're looking for that, and then you can just copy that entrance over to whatever wrestler you want to, and then you'll get the DX Trons and the DX music, and then just change the motion to whoever you want. Also, I do have Triple H up that has the My Time theme up. So if you search BeachBytes and Community Creations, you can grab both of those and get the DX Trons and music for everybody. See, that's what I'm working on right now. I agree with you. Talk about classic WWE games, PS1 through PS3. I'm working on PS3 now, and I want to go backwards. So what I want to do is like each one video a week for, next few weeks, because there's 17 games. So I'd like to start in like January, like every Thursday or something. We look back at WWE this, and we go backwards instead of forward. So we'd start with, we look back at 22, 21, 19, go all the way through. But I want to start it with 17, since we have that PS3 version. I want to look at all the PS3 versions of the game. So go all the way back, and then once we hit that, hit the PS2 versions, then the PS1 versions, and try to cover the whole series. So what do you guys think about that? I think that might be something fun to do. So we just look back once a week at old wrestling games. The model Martel. Why did they take him out? I wonder. He was in the game. I don't think we ever get Burn the Light. I thought this was the year that we would get Burn the Light because of the way they were doing the Randy Ortons and they were showing stuff. I thought we're doing Orton in showcase mode, we got to get Burn the Light. Now, I don't think we'll ever get it. I'd like to see it though. I also want to see Evolution in the game, but Ric Flair, I want the current day old Ric Flair Evolution player. I don't think we're going to get that either. What I want is, if we're fantasy picking music here, give us the Run DMC version of the DX music. I think that would be fun. Give us Road Dogg and X-Pac's intro from WrestleMania 2000 with Run DMC doing DX music. I think that would be fun. But that's my pick. They should have a father-son pack or something. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I was talking about like the Brian Pillman thing. You could do Brian Pillman. You could do Alexis King. You could do it that way. You could do IRS and, Bo Dallas or something like that. I think they could do something like that. But I don't want to pay for like DLC. Like, that's where I'm at in this game. It's like, you have the technology to put them all on the roster, and I know you need to make your extra money. I'm completely fine with that. But used to in games, DLC was for wrestlers that weren't there when the game came out. So like, what was it, 13 or 14? Wait, was it 14? Well, my years might be mixed here, so don't take this one to the bank. But it was a year where we got Damian Sandow, Antonio Cesaro, Ryback, and the Usos. Think about that. The Usos were DLC the first time in the game because now they're huge, but when that game came out, the Usos weren't there, so that was your DLC pack. That's how DLC used to be handled. Oh, the wrestler just got here after release or showed up right before release, and then that's how we'd get DLC. Now they're holding off guys. Like they burnt me on DLC when it was, oh, we know Rikishi was in last year's game, but now this year you got to pay for him in DLC. That's when it started going, okay, now you don't know what you're doing. That you're going to take wrestlers out to put them back in for DLC. The Dudley Boys have signed their Legends contract. If they're still doing scanning right now, there's no reason why that they shouldn't be on disc. But I don't think for a second that if they do a Dudley Boys pack, that they'll rip Stacy Keibler out of the game and sell her back to us again as Dudley Boys version of Stacy Keibler. I could totally see him doing that. You get the Dudley Boys pack, you get Bubba Ray, you get Devon, you get Spike, and then you get Dudley Boys Stacy Keibler version, but they just ripped her out and you got to pay for DLC. I could see him doing it now. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that. It was like, oh no, not a new wrestler, already in the game. But now, after they did that with Rikishi, that all bets are off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all so much for joining me today. The beach beverage is empty, so I must bid you adieu. We're going to have new videos coming out over the weekend. I got some surprises coming over the weekend. All next week, we're going to have some videos. Please go and watch them if you have the time. Hit those like buttons. If you're in here and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Of course, we will be back. And we will be talking more WWE 2k24. We might play a game next week. Since it's the release of 2010, the 10-year or 14-year anniversary of 2010, I might try to see if we can go ahead and play just a few rounds of that next week. I think that would be fun to look at. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thank you all so much for being here today. And remember, make life your beach. And we'll see you on the next video.